So I'm so thrilled to have our next storyteller. She is a 2-time Moth Grand Slam winner, the first woman to ever do that. Please welcome Erin Barker.
I'm going to tell you more about me than you ever wanted to know. So about 10 years ago, when I was in my early 20s, I was diagnosed with these two conditions called interstitial cystitis and vulvodynia. And these are very painful conditions that affect this area. The lady parts, I think, is the medical term for it. And so my doctor took me into his office, and he sat me down and he explained to me that because the medication that treats these conditions takes so long to work, if it works at all, I was going to have to go for a very long time, possibly forever, without 4 things. And these 4 things, tragically, are you ready for this? They're alcohol. I know. Caffeine. That's another one. Pants. I know, see if it's funny when it happens to you. And the last one, here's the big one, number 4, is sex. Yeah. And I leave his office with a prescription for this medicine that may or may not work, and if it does, could take years to work and has terrible side effects and will cost me thousands of dollars out of pocket. And also a business card for a vaginal surgeon, which is something that I hadn't even known existed until that date. And he tells me, just keep this just in case for later. We don't want to rush into that right away, as if I'm going to rush into having surgery on my vagina. Because it doesn't always work, and it leaves some women permanently damaged. And so I walk out of this appointment like, what the fuck? I came here because I thought I had a bladder infection. And I'm just like, what the fuck, medical science? Like, Dick Cheney is still alive, but like, for some reason we know nothing about the human vagina. Why is that? And I do what all New Yorkers do at some point, which is I cry on the subway all the way home. And it goes even further than the pain and everything else that was just described to me, because I'm also really afraid that I could lose something else that has become increasingly precious to me over the past 3 years, which is my relationship with my boyfriend, who I live with, Justin. And Justin is, he's really supportive and everything, but I can't help but think that it's not gonna last, especially if this stretches on into years. And because who really wants to sign up for an indefinitely sexless relationship? Not a lot of people. Not even really good people. Not even people who, for instance, saw every Jason Statham movie ever made with you, or bake you a funfetti cake every year on your birthday because it's your favorite, or who once cleaned you up because you shit your pants and barfed all over a Kroger's grocery store. All of which may or may not be things that Justin had done for me over the course of our relationship. And it seemed like every time I turned on the TV, it would be like these messages telling me, you don't have a real relationship. You don't have a healthy relationship unless you're having sex. It'd be a sitcom where the joke would be, this couple's not having sex, so she's just your friend that you buy dinner for. And I'm like, is that what's gonna happen to us? Are we gonna become like roommates? And I'm just like constantly worried about this. And my gynecologist would sometimes try to cheer me up by giving me advice after our appointments. He would say things like, heavy petting and oral sex play can be just as enjoyable as vaginal penetration, which is really great coming from your 60-year-old Jewish doctor. It's very inspiring. And it just sort of ended up depressing me more. And then there was this other element to it where I felt like I was losing part of my identity. Because I am a beer and blue jeans girl. I am not a dresses and chamomile tea kind of girl. But I felt like that was what I had to become now. And so for a while, I was sort of cling to these old parts of myself. Like I would still order a beer when I went out, but I would just, like, instead of swallowing it, spit it back into the bottle, which it turns out is kind of a turnoff for some people. And I would still wear jeans every day to work, but I would, like, unbutton them under my desk to make it less painful. And it was cool. Like, as long as I remembered to rebutton them before I got up, nobody would ever know, except, of course, eventually I did not remember, and I found myself face to face in the hallway at work with my boss's boss, with my pants hanging wide open. And my favorite part of this incident is that I never explained myself. Just kind of let that one lie. There were moments when I felt like maybe I should explain what was going on with me to, like, my coworkers, but it just didn't feel like something I could say, like, well, you see, Carl, my bladder doesn't produce lining on its own anymore, and the inflammation irritates my vagina. Like, it just doesn't feel like a professional conversation. And so, but after this incident, and also another one in which Amy from marketing catches me spitting Coke into the sink in the break room, I decide it's time to make a change. And so I start wearing dresses for the first time, and I actually start telling people what's going on with me for the first time. So it'll go like this. Whenever anybody notices me wearing a dress, they'll be like, oh, look at you, all fancy, because it was never anything that I would wear. And I would just go, oh, yeah, I don't actually want to be wearing this. It's just that my vagina is broken. Which, you know, some people found unsettling, but most people were actually very supportive. And so I got a little bit more courage, and I talked to my boss about it, and he let me start working from home, and things were starting to get a little bit better. I still didn't have the courage to take that business card for the vaginal surgeon out of my wallet, but I did start doing vaginal physical therapy, which is a thing. And it's very weird because you try making small talk about the latest Matt Damon movie while someone's entire hand is in your vagina. But I did make progress, and I started being able to wear pants more, and I started being able to have a cup of coffee or a drink sometimes. But the one thing that didn't get better was sex. It was still excruciatingly painful. And at this point, it had been 2 years since I was diagnosed. And I started to accept the fact that I was just never going to get better. Things were never going to go back to the way that they had been. So I sat Justin down and I told him, I understand if you want to move on. I understand if you want out, because you deserve to have a normal sex life. You deserve to have a normal life. And he looks at me and he says, Erin, I love you. We've been together for years. I'm not going to leave now just because things got hard. And it meant a lot to me. It really did. But there was a small part of me that just still didn't believe him. Especially when 2 years turned into 3 years, turned into 4 years. It just didn't feel like it could last. Until one day in 2013, when something happened that changed my mind, which is that on this exact stage I am standing on right now, after a different storytelling show, Justin proposed to me. Got down on one knee in that exact spot right there. And I thought, wow, like, how real is what we have if he is just committed to me for the rest of his life and we haven't been able to have sex in 4 years. And trust me, guys, heavy petting and oral sex play are great, but they are not the same as vaginal penetration, Dr. Ledger. They are not. And so, but this really inspired me. It made me think I want to be all in the same way that he's all in. And so I took that business card out of my wallet and I made an appointment with the scary vaginal surgeon. And I went into the office and I filled out those forms that you have to fill out, rating your pain on a scale from 1 to 10. And I'd been filling these out for years at this point, and I would always sit there and think about them like, oh, is this an 8 or is this a 9, But today, I put 10 for everything. I circled all 10s on this sheet because I meant business. I was not fucking around anymore, and I wanted this doctor to know. I was serious. And so he examines me, and he tells me I am not a candidate for vaginal surgery. And my heart sinks because this was my last chance. This was the only thing that I hadn't tried. I had tried so many medicines, so many therapies, and this was like my last ditch attempt. But then he tells me I am a candidate for a newer, more experimental treatment that he has recently been trying with some of his patients. And that is how I ended up paying $5,000 to have Botox injected into my vagina. That's right, it's very wrinkle-free down here. It's like Billy Crystal's face. It's pristine. Have you ever called your mother and asked to borrow $5,000 to have Botox injected into your vagina? Because I have. It's a really fun conversation. But the amazing thing is, y'all, it worked. Thank you. That's how I felt. Thanks to the magical, mysterious powers of Botox, my vagina is now fully functional. In fact, it functioned last night, not to brag or anything. And I think, in a way, this whole experience has given me an incredible gift because I know, without a doubt, that Justin loves me in a way that is truly unconditional. Not that I would ever fucking go through any of that ever again. Thank you very much.
Yums the word.